everybody. Look at us.
What's
We're doing
going
live,
on?
man.
We're going live. This is exciting. Thank you guys for joining us. If you're here for the first time, welcome. This is MaJeliv. Before you jump in, give us some thumbs up in the comments if you can hear us, if you can see us, if you can hear us clearly. That way, before we jump in and start having some fun, we make sure that you guys can hear us well. So give us some signs in the comments.
Signs of life in the comments, please, to make sure that you can hear us and pictures coming out the way we like. And also we can double check that your comments or questions will be coming through. That'll be very helpful as well. So
absolutely. Let's see if we got some thumbs up. Okay, Zykeem. What's up, Zykeem? Good to see you, Zykeem. Thanks for the thumbs up. Everything is good. That's great. All right, so I'm seeing already some familiar names. Thank you guys for joining us again. It's always a joy to have you. And for those of you that are new, again, this is MaJeliv. We're the Vasquez family. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Jose.
And we are actors. We're a family of actors and artists. We've been in the TV and film industry for a long time now as a family. Started with this guy, then with me. This is my dad, fun fact if you don't know that. And then me, and then my siblings, and then my mom has been like the boss, you know, the manager behind the scenes. And so it's been an incredible journey. You may have seen us in shows like Miss Marvel, The Liberator on Netflix, Cobra Kai, The Walking Dead, Will Trent, right? You were on Will Trent?
Will Trent.
And some pretty cool stuff. Reasonable Doubt on Hulu as well. So that's been really good. And so we've learned a lot over the years, and we've also loved to share movies together and TV shows together and watch some pretty great stories together as a family. And of course, for those of you that know us and have journeyed with us here on YouTube, you know how much we love to break open these movies and use our perspective as actors, being professionals in the industry, when we break open these movies and talk about them and look beyond just the product, right, the actual movie or TV show, but to look at the things that are going on, the deeper things, the themes, the takeaways, the character analysis, and looking beyond. Yeah, not just consuming it, but participating, right? And then looking beyond in terms of the spiritual element too. What can we take away? And there's a lot there. So that's who we are. And today specifically, for those of you that have joined us on lives before, you'll notice that this is a different setup. We don't have our silver button or our blue couch. We have a blue wall. So there's that, keeping a little bit of that there. But today we'll be breaking open some exciting things that will be going into 2026, diving deeper into, and that is sharing more of our perspective on acting, on artistry, going into the new year, and sharing that side of us as well. And that's why today we're starting with just me and my dad here, and Jose. Mm-hmm. He's been working on some pretty exciting stuff in the new year, recently, and going into the new year. And today we're going to specifically talk about three main things. Obviously, Christmas just passed, so again, Merry Christmas. So those of you that celebrate Christmas, and happy holidays to everyone. Please let us know in the comments how your Christmas was, if you celebrate Christmas. I'm seeing some people recognize you from Cobra Kai. So hope you guys had a great Christmas. And so we're going to be breaking open how the Christmas story, specifically, teaches us to surrender as artists. So maybe you're an actor watching this, or maybe you are an artist, and regardless, whether you're an actor and or an artist, there is something we can learn from the Christmas story. And so we'll break open that. What does that mean? And how do we actively, do that? How do we keep the fun in our work as actors, especially with, sometimes the busyness or the noise too? We're going to dive into that. How do we rise above the noise in the industry or of the world, right, on social media, or the voices around us from family and friends? How do we rise above all of that and find wholeness and continue to maintain faith in the work that we're doing, whether it's in our own personal studies, or when we're working on monologues or in scenes, or when we're doing auditions, right? And for those of you that are professional actors, there's a lot of times where there's plentiful rejection, and there's a lot of rejection down the line. How do we maintain faith in the work and all of that? And right, we've had a pretty busy
the last 3 weeks have
busy
been
holiday
season. Very, very busy.
Very productive. I think we're doing our best to eliminate the word busy, right?
Thank you. Yeah, take that word, toss it. Let's use words like productive. Focused is my favorite word right now in terms of an alternate to the word busy. That word is overused, and it has a very negative connotation in my brain right now, in my spirit.
Yeah.
So no, we've been very focused on getting the work done that's right in front of us. And as Matthew's saying and setting up here, it really has been a lot of it, the focus on our YouTube content creation. But it's also becoming more intentional as artists, as actors. And so we're really going to be diving into that tonight. So hopefully we'll have some of you out there that are actors, artists in general, but if there's actors out there, definitely want to hear from you. This is really that's the angle we're taking tonight. I'm going to be talking to you all very much from the actor coach perspective.
I'll be teeing up questions and kind of conversation. And even if you're maybe just interested in acting, or you've always had a fascination with what actors might go through, what that process is like, you will probably find some value here. Hopefully you find some value, and we're happy to have you join us. So welcome. And you can feel free to ask any questions too. We'll have a more intentional Q&A towards the end of this. If you have any questions about any projects we've worked on, anything about our process, again, maybe maybe you have questions of which actors have inspired us, things like that. We'll dive into some actor-related questions towards the end. Going into the new year as a family, we have been setting goals, and not just goals, but actionable steps to change, to grow, right? To evolve, and to keep elevating what we do, to continue to serve you guys and connect with all of you, but then also in our service as actors, right? Because ultimately, as a family, we talk a lot about that, how acting truly is a service, not just the actual service of the work, but ideally service to humanity with the stories that we're telling, and that storytelling is vital. And so how do we truly live that out as a service, right? As opposed to just falling into the distortions of acting just being a vehicle to be seen and to be accepted. And so how do we keep that there? But like we mentioned earlier about busyness, right? And how we've been doing our best to eliminate that word. Why is a word like busyness so dangerous per se? And how does that tie into what we learned with the Christmas story this year?
I love that question because, as a society, as a culture, wherever you live, anything that equates the word busy to getting things done, it's a dangerous concept because we can get quite addicted to just feeling like I'm getting things done. But are those things that are getting done, are they getting me closer to the goals that I have? Just because I'm doing a bunch of things and I'm busy, is it how close am I to the target, to the objective at hand? So, you could be running around in circles for all you know, but you feel like you're productive, you feel like you're busy getting work done, but are you just kind of running aimlessly or chasing your tails?
So just a hamster wheel, right?
Yeah, you could be just a hamster wheel, exactly. That's the danger of it. The danger is that we are just doing things without an actual step-by-step measurement that we're making actual progress toward the objective at hand, whether that's training for a role, are you improving your craft, or are you just here? I'll give you an example because we could talk theory all day, but it's so easy, especially during this time of year, to run around and just feel like the more I can pack into a day, then I can feel like I got my stuff done. And so we're talking about shopping or running into the different amounts of work you can get done before the vacation time hits, or you're sitting down scrambling on the paper trying to come up with ideas to get out of a bad situation. And as long as you're actually writing things down that get you to that goal, then that's fine. But if you wake up and the first thing you do is just literally clean your house, when there's other things that you could be doing to take you to a closer step to your end goal, then that should be the focus. So that can get tricky, right? Because depending on who's out there, who's listening, if your goal is specific to your desire, then as long as you're making steps toward that's fine. So something like, let's say my goal is to I guess give me a question, because there's so many ways about it that we can go.
Well, like for one, I'll give you an example because we're talking about it. It's recently in the last 2 years, I've really been going head on writing this script that I've been thinking about for years, and I finally in the last year and a half got into it. I committed to writing this thing, but the way that I finally got to it was I was pushing to the side. I had to push to the side those things that were keeping me busy. And in this case, it's our priority, right? How do we prioritize work and things? And there's a difference between, we've talked about it, like things that are important and things that are urgent. And sometimes the important things, there isn't necessarily an urgency because, again, life is going to keep pulling us in different directions. And so how do we keep the important things at the forefront? And like Stephen Bartlett has mentioned it. Stephen Bartlett from Diary of a CEO. We saw one of his Behind the Diary vlogs, and he talks about something he learned from Steve Jobs about signal and noise, and how there's, when you break it down to just two columns, those things that we have to do, those to-dos, there's the signal and then there's the noise. The things that is just noise ultimately, and the signal is those 5 most important things that must get accomplished each day. Mm-hmm. And so how do we identify that? And we can't really, we have to identify what must get done so that we can actually be proactive and actively be on the path to accomplishing it, right? So it can't just be like something up here.
Right. And so on that, let's talk about your script for a second. Yeah. If your focus has been to finish that script, it's very it's very tempting to get to a point in the process where if you go into research and you start watching different movies, mm-hmm. and then suddenly you're spending most of your days watching movies and not actually writing the thing, that could be a problem, because now you're using most of your valuable time to watch movies, which that feels good. Right. You're watching really great work, really great stories, but if the story that is waiting for you to tend to build and flush out is not getting done, that's what I was talking about earlier, where, okay, you're busy watching movies, it feels good because you're watching them, there's literally a beginning and then you have the credit moment, credits are rolling, you're like, all right, I watched another one, you took some notes maybe, and then, but if all you do is kind of that you're skewing the scale to one side, then your story is suffering. Your actual important goal is suffering. Right. So ideally, you're focused on getting closer to achieving the task of getting the script done, which you have, right?
Well, you use the word task, which I think is important, because for me, the biggest shift has been going from just a goal to objectives that will actually get me there. Mm-hmm. Smaller steps. Goals keeps it, again, I'm using this motion here because it kind of just keeps it up in the clouds as opposed to something that I can attainably, and it's an observable reality, something that I can obtain and do step by step. And so it wasn't until I realized, okay, I keep wanting to start writing a script, I'm hitting a blank page, I'm hitting writer's block. You're like, okay, I need to learn what my process is. I don't have a process. And so having the humility to accept that and be like, okay, I need to find how I'm going to learn. And so it's like, okay, who are my teachers going to be? I found a master class by the Duffer Brothers on Masterclass, and it helped guide me on my process. And so now they had great, this is not a promotion at all, this is just something that's truly helped me, and I tell as many people as I can about it because it truly is extremely helpful. They give you like these actionable steps that you do, and that helped me. So putting those objectives down, those little steps that get you towards the goal, right, ultimately.
And therein lies the progress. If you're making progress, and you did that for, what was it, a year? It took you, and then now you have your pilots written, and you're revising it.
So now I'm revising it. But even now, as I'm revising, there's a lot of things that I can easily go to that keep me busy. And a lot of us, I'm sure many of you watching too, understand the feeling of having to juggle a lot. We all have a lot going on. We all have very busy lives, and we have a lot going on. And so it's about that balance, right? The balance of how do we work on the things that are important, but still tend to the noise that is constantly tugging at us.
One way to clear out noise is to actually take that energy you currently have right now in this moment as you watch this and focus it. So I'm going to challenge whoever's watching right now, whether you're an actor or not, because this really applies to all of our lives. Mm-hmm. If you can actually pick up something you can write on, that'd be great. So if you have a journal or a piece of paper, take a moment right now, grab a pen or a pencil. We're going to be saying something tonight that you can definitely apply to your life, even if you're not an actor. Right. These are things that contemplations, dare I say, that will help us go into a space in our heart and our minds that make us more focused individuals. Right. Focused on a task that gets us closer to progress. Toward what? Toward a better version of ourselves. Acting out on the desire to improve who we are. And that, I think, is a great way to just, really kind of close up the year, admitting some of our losses and focusing on the wins so that we can build on those as our time in 2025 comes to an end. And then we ideally, with God's help, rise up renewed and with a greater understanding of who we are not, who we want to be, who we don't want to be. All of these things that we're going to share tonight really do add to that element. And it gives you that sense of focus, a sense of progress, and not just a sense, but actually measurable, tangible things. Wow, I'm actually doing things that are getting me closer to the objective of improving who I am. Absolutely. And that's really what all of this is about. The reason we have a MaJeliv Insiders community is for that very reason, so that you can spend more time with us as we are on our passion and pursuit to improve who we are as artists, as human beings. The reason that we'll be starting a MaJeliv Artist community very shortly. There's a MaJeliv Artist channel now that you can subscribe to. And the reason we have these things in place is to hold each other accountable, to keep pushing the boundary of the limit, setting a new standard as often as we can. Raising that bar, right. So that we can really go to a new level of service, of artistry, mastery. Because it feels good, but it's just really making as much impact as we can in people's lives. So, and before we keep going, just a quick shout out to some names I'm seeing. Hey Josiah, thank you for joining us. Hey Josiah. I'm seeing who else? Ahsoka Kumar, yes. Missouri Green, some great questions here. CM asked a question. Hunter. Okay, these are great. We'll jump into these in a second here. But like you said, we have the Insider community. We have the link to that in the description. If you guys want to learn about that, like you said, we're really excited. We just it's a place where you get to connect with us more directly, and we're constantly posting our reflections on movies, TV shows that we see, things that we're going through, and ideally, it's like my dad said, challenging you to raise the standard, raise the bar, not just the way that we take in movies and TV shows, which is a lot of what we do here, but go beyond. How do we live better lives, right? How do we live more intentionally, more present in each moment? So definitely meet us there. It's $20 a month, and you're signing up to, again, like I said, be held accountable and holding each other accountable as we share, and inspiring each other, right? Inspiring each other each day, every day, and how we live out our lives. And then on top of that, you're being a part of what we're building here at MaJeliv. You're joining the MaJeliv legacy, and so for that, it's a pretty great place to be. So we'd love to see you in there with us, for sure. I want to reemphasize a tangible step to take right now in this moment is make sure you have something to write with. Grab a pencil, a pen, piece of paper. We're about to jump into this stuff and really lay down some awesome things you could do as soon as you possibly can. You could end this video tonight, really sit with some of these things and say, okay, starting tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday, depending on where you are in the country, in the world, you can really start saying, all right, I'm going to try some of this stuff out. So I'll tell you what, once you feel like you've got something to write with, just give me a nice heads up here, let me know. Hey, let us know in the comments once you got your pencils, your pencils, your pens. Oh, I love that someone here's like, it's 5 a.m. right now. Someone's getting up and early to get this. Way to go, Cosmic Craze. Good to see you, Cosmic Craze. That's it. That's how you handle it. All right, good. So just start giving us thumbs up or say, got it. Or give us a got it that you've got your pencil in hand. We've got our paper ready to go. So once we get a few of those, we'll start dropping some of this knowledge and things. While we do that, let's take, what would you say, we take a couple questions that we can maybe tackle, little things here and there, while people give us some thumbs up that I know you're going to be able to write some things. Even if you just look, worst case scenario, unless you're on your phone, then it's not going to work, but you can take some notes on your phone, why not? Absolutely. Pull up your notes section on your phone and just write stuff down. Words that pop up and kind of really land on the heart. For sure. Right? All right, yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to jump on in. Hold on. Has there been a theory you've been dying to try in script writing? That's a great question. I will get to it later, so just stay tuned. Yeah, these questions are great. Awesome. We do see them, and I want you to just know that we're gonna get to some of these for sure.
So we'll go through. So just keep the questions coming in the comments, and we'll do our best to handle as many as possible. But like I said earlier, we're gonna jump on it. How does the Christmas story teach us to surrender as artists? Part of our daily life, daily routine as a family, we've done our best individually, and whenever we can together as a family, to do prayers and meditations. It's a big part of our lives. And this Advent season for Christmas, we're following the Be Still series. It was the Advent 25 on the Hallow app, and there was a lot of great reflections on there and teaching us how to be still, right? How to, like we were talking about earlier, getting rid of the hurry that the world is constantly telling us. The world is constantly telling us to hurry up, and to keep moving at a certain pace. How do we find stillness and a moment of pause, even in the midst of that, right? Like sometimes we have an unrealistic expectation of what that looks like, and now we have to be on vacation or completely unplugged from everything in order to have that peace and stillness. And so it was a great challenge to look at our lives and how can we find those moments of stillness, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, that we feel we're truly connecting to God, to stillness, and to peace, and to our ultimate deeper desires and greater why, right? A greater purpose, what we're all here for. And specifically, how does the Christmas story help us surrender as artists? And that's come up a lot. So I'd love to hear data from you, what that looks like. Maybe what characters you connected with, rehearing and reflecting on the Christmas story, and where your heart's at with all of that, and how you're applying that to your artistry. Because obviously we're a family, but because we're always working together, we do share a lot of those reflections, because it immediately impacts our artistry. Like as artists, our duty is to work on not just the craft and the business, but part of both of those things are these 4 pillars, right? Body, mind, heart, and soul. Which I don't want to steal your thunder, but
no, it's all good, man. I love it.
But jump on in. Yeah, what are you feeling from the?
Well, you brought up the concept of different meditations you could do, different prayers you could do during this time of year. The Advent season, for those of you that don't know, it's simply a preparation for the birth of Christ, right? We have this deep belief that 2,000 years ago, Jesus was born in a manger. And so the contemplative, imaginative prayer, simply stated, just using I love using my imagination as if I'm there, in a part of that story, a part of the moment when the announcements were made to the shepherds, when the Magi started to read the stars and see the signs that something great was going to happen. When Joseph heard the news about Mary, that was initially very disturbing, very scary, confusing. Mary, who got the message from the angel that her life was going to significantly change if she gave her yes to carrying the child of God. So all of these elements, they kind of help me enter, not kind of, they help me enter into this specific moment in the history of the Christmas story, where I can then say, well, based on today, in terms of how I'm feeling, who do I identify with the most? Because every day that we wake up, we feel things. And sometimes our strongest feelings, there's been days where I feel like a shepherd. Seriously, shepherd, not much to go with, really tired, feels a little overwhelming to try to take care of 100, 300 sheep. Again, this is my imagination now.
300 things, right?
Yeah, 300 things all at once, and it's just kind of mayhem, right? And then all of a sudden there's this loud boom in the sky, and there's an announcement that this grace is coming upon us, that there's to be born a child, and we are to follow the signs to land in this place. So it's the journey to the manger, and as a shepherd, I have a certain way of feeling. I can imagine the environment, the texture, the smells, all of it. I use all of my sensory capabilities to really enrich myself and just embed myself in the journey of a shepherd versus the journey of a magi, who is a learned scholar of their time, of their country. So those varying perspectives. There's days where I feel more like I'm doing really good today, so I feel good about myself, and so then that's when the magi. But in all transparency, as of late, I have really related to Joseph and the shepherd that is making their way. Most these days, so it's 25 days of Advent. And in the 25 days, I would tell you, I felt more like Joseph, where you suddenly look at your hands that normally build so much and can do so much, and then there's not much you could do. And we're knocking on the door, trying to find somewhere to lay our future bride that is carrying the child of God. And like, where do I, there's so little I could do, right? There's a sense of helplessness, a sense of hope still and faith. It's just all of these great feelings get specified into Joseph. That was me in the last 25 days. There's been days where I feel like a shepherd, like I said. But one thing I want to comment on is Joseph, as well as Mary, there's a sense of surrender. Write this down. Surrender is not resignation. Surrender is not resignation. What does that mean? Surrender is not quitting. It's not, when we surrender, especially to the will of God, we're not just saying, all right, I give up. In a sense, we give up trying to take charge of a situation. We give up control, and in that sense, it's really good. It's liberating. It's almost like you could breathe because you're not struggling to like grab a hold of a situation. So to surrender something, it's just to say, I'm going to stop putting so much energy into having control over something I just don't have any control over. What if I just trust that God will tell my body what to do, will tell my heart how to respond and my mind how to respond so that I can take the next step forward. It's the trust in what has been placed in us to do next. So
now, a quick question.
Yeah.
When you say God, right?
Yeah.
What do you?
Great question. Yeah, because I'm aware that the concept of God, for some people, that word could have a lot of negative connotation, but it's God, creator of the universe. God that is love itself. God that is being itself. God as this entity, this omnipresent force that if you sit, this is why stillness is so important. If we can sit in stillness and just listen to the silence beneath all of the literal noise. Like right now, if we were to just sit for like 10 seconds and just listen, like I hear the fan of the laptop, there's a little bit of laundry noise. But go beyond that sound.
Just the power of now, right?
The power of now. Thank you.
That's where you got that from?
Yep. Eckhart Tolle, and it's this sense of what if I just listen? And I've also heard this from, so Paulo Coelho wrote The Alchemist, and he talks about this, like the second mind, where you have a thought that's immediate thought, like I'm thinking about this live right now, but then sometimes you have other thoughts that are just right above that thought, which is thinking about, man, I'm hungry. I hope I get some food at some point, right? Or other thoughts like, oh, I hope the laundry sound is not getting picked up by the mic. So we have these levels of thought. But it's getting out of that thinking stuff and really actively listening, like literally using our ears, our body to listen to that, to the silence of just right now,
And we're not comfortable with silence these days, right?
No, it makes people very uneasy, and that's because we just have so much going on and we're so locked in here. And a really quick, beautiful exercise of surrender is find a way to sit and just open your palms and just rest them on the table, open them, unclench them, make sure there's no tension in your jaw. So it's body awareness. What's your body doing? Can you bring your shoulders down and just exhale, take a deep breath in. And that's it. It's really so quick and simple. It's start with the body, it's surrendering, it's just exhaling, and then listen. If you're in a house full of people, because maybe it's the holidays, or you're in a house that's empty, maybe in your house somebody is sick, maybe you're helping somebody who's sick, maybe you're sick, maybe you feel alone, or you are alone, listen to the beat of your heart. And it's like I'm still alive, and God has a reason for that. And so just listen to the beautiful sound of your heart pumping blood through your whole body. You know?
CM has a great comment because it goes with it. Instead of fighting the river's current, go with the current. The current moves with the earth, not against. The same thing with the God.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So yeah, it's a sense of surrendering with trust. I love that.
Yeah, it's the image that comes to mind as that comment comes in. Yeah, you just kind of let yourself float on the surface of a river, and it takes you.
Yeah, and the great, so tying what you're talking about to acting, back to acting too, is there's that direct connection with the way that we're able to live authentically and presently in each moment, taking in those quiet moments too, being aware of, we talk about in acting a lot, body awareness and body relaxation, right?
Yep.
And concentration, all these things are so important because they allow us to be more present for the other scene partner that we're with, or just to be as raw and authentic in front of a camera or on stage. And so, but Larry Moss, in his book, The Intent to Live, he talks about how if we can't do that in real life, our chances of doing that in acting are just far less, right? We have a harder chance and harder time doing that in the work and on set, on stage, if we don't do that on a regular basis in our lives. And so that is why doing that more often and practicing those moments of silence, of being aware of our body. Why am I moving towards an object, away from an object? Why do I like to, clench my eyebrows so much, or do a little thing with my mouth? Like, where is stress and tension in my body? And why is it there, right? Is it because I was sitting editing for hours? Is it because I had a really hard moment with a friend and I never expressed how it made me feel, and all of that stress and pain is now just like in my right hip, and all those are real things. These are real things. And so you'd be surprised how much movement and releasing that body tension helps us to be more aware, right? And so that's always interesting.
When I bring it back to the Christmas story, I think about walking. Mary and Joseph walked to Bethlehem. The shepherds walked to the manger. The Magi, probably with the help of camels, walked to the manger, to the place where Jesus was born. So I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
And I haven't been able to ask you this, so I'm genuinely excited because I can't believe I haven't asked you this already. But who would you say you identify with the most in this Advent? When we talk about the shepherds, Joseph, Mary, like what has your journey, your actual walk been like this Advent season?
Yeah, that is a great question. I love that question.
And go sit in silence if you need to. Take your time answering that. No rush. Gives me a chance to take a sip of water.
And also had a Omega Zero. I'm noticing that. Benny Bobby, good to have you with us.
Somebody said twins.
Twins. I mean, he is hilarious. My dad, so that's a little bit of same gene pool. But yeah, who do I identify with in this? I would say I relate a lot to the whole thing with Joseph. I think I can, like many of us, we can relate to the feeling of not always, sometimes even when we do our best, sometimes it's very tempting to feel like that's not enough still. And so Joseph having to surrender and trust, like, look, even though I'm just, a carpenter, that I can take care of Mary and the child of God, right? And especially with the work that we do, even again as actors, there's times where you could do all this preparation and get ready, but then it's that sense of how do you surrender, and we'll get to that in a second. Like some examples of us having to surrender on set, like some actual examples of how we've had to go through that. But yeah, Joseph, I also feel like the Magi in the sense that there's this great thing, this vision, this thing they've heard about, a star. And it ties to what I was talking about earlier with goals and dreams. There's these things that feel God-given, that feel anointed, that feel divine. I'm sure some of you may feel like this. Maybe it's, maybe it is God for you. Maybe for you it's the universe, whatever it may be. But you may have this moment where you feel this divine call in some way, right, from God. And then it's like, what do you do with that, right? And so now I feel like I'm on that journey, not really knowing where the end goal is, but just trusting in the vision that I've been gifted, and trusting that it's going to lead to wherever I'm meant to be. And that's where I connect with the Magi in the sense of people may call me crazy. You know, you may run into the Herods that are like, oh, what is all this about, right? People that actually aren't seeking the good in what I'm being called to do. They actually want to see me fail. And so it's that balance of going on that journey. What does that look like? That's the season of life that I feel like I'm in. And then similar to Joseph, again, it's that the building season, right? The sense of working on myself, doing the best that I can, like Joseph, and also preparing a place for the future, for future family, right? Mm-hmm. Things like that. So immediately, those are the two, the Magi and Joseph.
Are wonderful. So. They're wonderful in the sense that they genuinely bring me to wonder what it would be like to have been the Magi that are constantly looking at the stars, mm-hmm. studying them, being of a higher intellect. In other words, consistently bringing the best of what we can to learn something to then share it in that time and era.
And how do you make like a dream and a concept, like you said, these goals, these dreams? How do we actively seek them out? And I think that the Magi are a great example of that, where they could have stayed in their towers, kingdoms, just contemplating the stars. You know, I think they said the Magi, that word back then, was more for like, you know, what we know as astronomers, right? Astronomers, astronomy. They were or astrology, right? And so when you keep all of that in mind, you could just stay in that contemplative state of just kind of keeping the distance there, but they sought it out. Right, they heard the stories and they're like, I'm gonna go after this thing. I'm gonna go after where the star is leading us, and there's that sense of that we could learn, even from Joseph and Mary. That sense of going for it, right? Saying yes, and what does an active yes look like, mm-hmm. right? And all of us have our own calling, whether that's as artists, as actors, where we're called to do something, and how do we actively do that thing, mm-hmm. as opposed to running from it. So that's interesting.
You know, the more important thing is how do we take this into practice, right? Mm-hmm. Every day we could give a plethora of examples, but like I was saying to you guys earlier, there's a reality that this time of year there's a lot of pressure and there's tension and so you know, that's why for me it was more like a shepherd. But when you get the news that you got cast in a movie or a TV show, you feel like you just took a big win. This is a big win. All right, great. I'm going to be on set. Or you got cast, you know, to be in a theater show, so you're going to be on stage. And so now you are more in that Magi state where I'm like, all right, I've got everything, including the driving force of curiosity. That's what takes the Magi out. Right, I'm curious. I want to find out. And a lot of the joy that we get, the high that we get as actors and storytellers, is the curiosity of where is this character, where is this story going to take me? I just got cast, now I'm on set, and you were talking about, well, what does surrender look like on set?
Right.
And I wanted to share a little story with you guys, a little insight. As Matthew said at the top of this thing, I got to play on the show Reasonable Doubt this year, and I was in the show for 4 episodes, season 3 of Reasonable Doubt on Hulu. And when I got the role, mind you, it took a month to find out I actually got the role. I played Detective Vic Moreno. Victor Moreno. And so as this detective, I knew going in I'd get at least 1 episode. It was not guaranteed I'd get more than that. The hope was there that I'd get a few more, at least 1 more. There was always talk about at least 1 more episode. And, you know, by the grace of God, I got to go on that first episode, and I had a great time. I had the first scene I did was an interrogation scene where my detective partner and I were interrogating one of the main characters of the show, of this season. It was a lot of fun. A lot of great fun. It was an audition that you helped me put on tape, mm-hmm. and we had a great time in the audition process to do it, and then it ended up being work. But here's the moment that required surrender. Okay, good news was they did call me back for a second episode. It was the very next episode, so I was in episode 1 of season 3, and I expected to be back around episode 5. But then they called my agent and let them know, hey, we are going to need Jose for episode 2. So I was like, oh, nice. But I had no idea what I was going to be doing. No clue. No clue what was going to demand of me, what the story elements were. So it's out now, without giving spoilers in case you haven't seen it. It's a moment where I'm basically storming into the same individual that I'm interrogating in episode 1. I'm storming into their house with some officers. And so my job as an actor in that moment is to come into this house, deliver some lines, work around camera, speak to different actors, all in one, swoop moment. Mm-hmm. And it seems pretty simple on the page. It's not a whole lot of dialogue, my friends. But I have to be completely transparent in how tense I got. We did.
That was your first time, on set in a while, right?
Yes.
I guess something to that kind of complexity.
In terms of that, coming in. And you know what really got me kind of just in my head, that I did research on the director of that episode, and I was so impressed with his work, I let it intimidate me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working with this guy. Whoa. And I got excited, but then it turned into like, I can't fail, I got to do my best. And I put all this pressure on myself. I made it all about me. And well, it felt like a mistake to do that. But in the end, and in hindsight, seeing it now, it led to me having to surrender, truly surrender. Because, so much of the victories I've had in this career as an actor, it leads to this high ego, like, I could do that, I did that, I can take care of this, I got control of this situation, when I don't. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. Surrender is not resignation, as in loss, but as in saying, I don't have control, and I'm giving it to you, God. I had a moment where these simple lines, they were very technical, and there was so much movement, where I kept messing up. So I did 3 takes of this one moment, and I was starting to get so flustered with myself. I started to sweat, and I got pretty nervous. I had to find my calm. I did this very quick prayer, and then I did this exercise that I do, like an I activated what's called the archetypes. Found a moment to just try my best. I did it again, and I messed up again because I was doing my thing. But the best thing I could do is come back out after we reset, and I just, in my silence, I got emotional. I said, God, I'm not good enough for this, but you are. You are. And I know you could do this. I'm going to stop trying so hard. Mm-hmm. You've got this. Kind of took my hands off the wheel. They called action. And it happened.
Yeah.
It was beautifully just me, moment to moment connected, driven. And I took a lot of that frustration that I was feeling, and I put it into the lines. I put it into the eye contact with the actors. And it salvaged the day. As in, God, Creator himself, salvaged the day. The Holy Spirit pulled me out of a really funky spot. Yeah. And it landed well. By the grace of God, it landed so well that I got called back to 2 more episodes after that. And that's the end of that. But continuously having to, absolutely.
And, the ironic part, I'll chime in, watching back those episodes, after hearing your perspective, how that went for you when you shared with us how that day on set went. When you watch the scene back, it's the fastest moment. Like, the moment that you're in is not even that. But to know that you went through all that just for those, not even 30 seconds, really, in terms of, like, screen time. It's just not to degrade what you went through at all. It's just more, I think, a reminder of how much the ego can get in our way. And right. I have this example, too, like, working on Miss Marvel, and even, like, in high school Goosebumps, there's different things where the ego will want to hijack this really great moment. And whether the moment is long or short, because, again, like you said, in those other episodes, you had a moment in a court case where you had a much longer piece, right, which was a lot more work, a lot more dialogue for that one. Not as technically involved in the sense of, like, movement, right? But essentially, our ego will constantly want to hijack our ability to be present and to fully show up and to just be there, to surrender, right? Because, again, we want to just take control and make the situation our own. And we'll talk about this more later about auditions and how do we surrender and how do we keep the play and fun in auditions and not let the ego hijack the whole thing.
Matthew, I do believe that God allows us to go through aches and pains so that we'll be more ready for the next opportunity to show up to the moment. Mm-hmm. And what I went through in episode 2 of having to go into that house really did prepare me for episode 10. And you were there. You helped me also with the dialogue of that scene. But confidence comes not from what I can do, but knowing what God can do through me. Mm. And that's the kind of confidence I want to master. I really want to get good at letting go, just stop trying to be the end-all, be-all of my life. Right. And really emptying out all of my effort and training and saying, here it is, God. Now do with it what you will. And I show up. Bring my body, heart, mind, and soul to the whole thing. And then we show up, we connect, we give. And the rest is what is going to end up on the final cut of the show. Mm-hmm. So, I am deeply grateful for the lessons that are learned on set, because then they translate to life.
Absolutely.
How quickly can I learn to forgive myself so that I can then improve on the next moment that I am given by God to do better than I did the moment before. And I've had so many moments where I miss the mark. I really do. I miss the target and just trying to be the better version of myself, to be a better man of God. And so the more efficiently and more lovingly I can forgive and reconcile with God, with myself, with those that I maybe potentially offend or hurt, then I can come back and just live better as quickly as possible. Because if we're given another chance, ideally we're showing up better than we were. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And like you said, you had to go through that experience to then show up even better in the following episode. And again, I say what I said about that moment and everything you went through, and how it's very easy to overlook, to magnify a certain moment that is really not as. It's a lot smaller and a lot simple if we just surrender and trust, in the moment and what's happening. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it does suck, and sometimes we have to surrender to the fact that this is a very uncomfortable, humiliating, humbling moment, and I will be stronger coming out of it. So that's extremely important, and also the reality that helps us to be more aware about what other people are going through. Right, we may find a moment that somebody else is going through and be like, "Oh, really? You're having a hard time with that, or you're struggling with that." And sometimes we should. I challenge all of us to look at the people. We just saw Avatar: Fire and Ash, and they said that all the time. I see you, right? Like, how do you? I genuinely see you. I see the person. I see what you're going through. I see this is hard for you. To find someone in your life right now, whether that's a family member or a friend that. Maybe you could see them a little bit more deeper, a little bit more deeply, where you see what they're going through. Maybe they are going through a hard time, and you just gotta let them know, yo, I see you, you're good, and
what a gift to have someone say that to you,
even if you're not, even if you don't have it all figured out, right? Like sometimes that's what we both need.
That's compassion. If someone's looking at me and they say, I see you, especially when I don't have it figured out. There's that sense of unconditional love, and when we show up on a set, it's such a high, extraordinary way to practice that level of empathy and compassion that ideally that takes us right back into real life, and we treat our family the same way, and that can get difficult because this time of year, I know families have their dynamics. So, one last thing I wanted to talk about with surrender that I think is been useful on set. And I wrote it down because this is something I've done since I've experienced the joy of being a working actor, where I've been on theater stages, I've been on TV shows and films. But the moment I've texted this to you before when you end up on a set, and to your brother and sister, the moment you arrive to the set, look for the light, and it's a light fixtures with these giant, and I used to remember the name of this big light, but it's those big Hollywood lights that look like big old cylinders. If there's any light gaffers out there watching this, please correct me. There's an actual name for it, but it's your classic like Hollywood light. It has these big wings, and it's just this. It just stands there, and it's this like beacon of like, wow, I'm on a movie set. How awesome is that? And it the first time I saw it as a kid. in Disney World, the great big movie ride, when you're getting into the little cars, there's these lights are sitting up on so that you get the sense of being in a sound stage. Like you're in a sound stage ready to film something. And as a kid, I was just so fixated on these lights. It was so just entranced by the reality, what it would be like to be on a set in a studio. And, you know, so anytime that I look for those lights. And every single time that I connect, I just take that moment of breathing and I thank God. And then I get to work because there's usually some good work to focus on. But I try to never lose the joy of just being able to be there. So that's a little way of surrender on set.
And the gift that it is, you know, the gift that it is to be on set, to do the work that we do. Again, it is a service. It is a time to play and have fun, to be, again, more present sometimes than we are in real life. Which that's a gift, right? Where we're literally being paid to put everything else to the side and just be present for this one character, for this moment, for this scene partner, and that's a huge gift. And like you said, those moments like that, I have had moments like that. Actually, when I was working on Miss Marvel, it was like 4 a.m. for a night shoot. It felt like 4 a.m. It was closer to 3 a.m. It felt like 4 a.m. for me. But, you know, this is Marvel. They've shut down the street. It's so much going on. It's such a big, well-oiled machine when it comes to set. The production is just, so much is going on. So many different people involved. Again, I don't take it for granted to be part of such an awesome set of people and creatives. But I had a moment where, like we talked about it, silence. I just like the reality of, I am on a Marvel set. This is an absolute gift. You know, this is a moment I dreamt of, and it's here. It's not how I expected, but it's everything, you know, that I could have wanted in that moment. But my moment of finding the light was, I could look up and I saw the sign of the, I think it's the Ebenezer Baptist Church, the one that Martin Luther King Jr. Preached at. It was right there. I saw the sign of it. It was like right down the street. That was my moment there of finding the light. And it was just this beautiful moment where, you know, part of what made us move to Georgia and to the south, to Georgia, to part of the dreams was we want to be in Marvel stuff, right? That was one of our goals, right? We talked about goals earlier. As a family, we were like, we want to, you know, this was like, I think right as Civil War was coming out, and one of our big dreams was we want to be on Marvel. We want to work on a Marvel movie. And so to say that I was working on a TV show, and you had already worked on Black Widow, there's just certain moments where, you know, God does keep his promises. There's that sense of not only just keeping it, but fulfilling it in an even bigger way that we could have ever imagined. And sometimes it's not hard. It's harder to see right away, but eventually it makes sense. But that was my moment then of seeing the light and being like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome. So I thought I'd share that. But
I love that you
my
brought that
version
up.
of the light in terms of like the great big movie ride, you know, because there is a beauty to working on smaller projects too. You know, there's a little bit more of an intimacy when it comes to being able to work and collaborate with the director and finding that there's just different environments in which different kinds of forms of collaboration are possible. But anyway, that's my little dissertation of that finding the light.
Great.
You're true. That's always like a little tradition we have. We each kind of do that on each set. So
I want to take a moment to just to say, look, there's a lot we're saying. So I know there's questions and things. I'm getting the instinct to maybe let's address some of the things that are being said now.
Yeah, we'll go as we go. So I'll go up a little bit.
And as we look for some of these, I want to invite some of you, any of you out there, as Matthew gets himself, give me a thumbs up when you feel like you're ready to start.
I'm ready, but go for it. Say what you were going to say.
So I just want to quickly invite some of you out there that are actors. I am currently doing research for a program that I'm putting together, and it's finally coming together. We've already filmed 3 videos for it, and it really is to elevate our artistry above the way that the industry is, and just to really bring our craft to a place where we're more connected, we feel more present, bursting through all the negativity and finding some peace amongst the restlessness, taking all of that so that we can actually feel more fulfilled more often than not. So that's the intention of the program. But the interviews, if you actually just check out in the description, there's going to be a link where you could just do a quick survey and set up an interview with me so that I can check out what's going on in your life as an actor, where you're at. And that's just going to help me create a really powerful program that really helps people transform their lives as actors for the better, and ideally improve their lives, and their faith lives, and their artistry. So please consider checking the description, and maybe we can connect and talk a little bit more about this program and your journey.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right.
Yeah, let's look at these things. So the first one I saw, let me go up a little bit here. Okay, CM8004. How do you balance school, family time, and jobs all at once? Did you have to sacrifice extracurricular activities? Absolutely. Sacrifice is a great word. There's definitely more sacrifice that could be made in terms of what that looks like, but there is the balance of the professional and the personal, like with what you got going on the day-to-day and what that looks like. So yeah, that definitely, sacrifice is a big part. But extracurricular is, I would say, those things that are not necessarily propelling me forward. Growing up, obviously, I played a lot of video games with my siblings. I haven't, like, in terms of the amount of video games I've played in the last 2-3 years, is not nearly as much as I played in middle school, high school. I mean, obviously, naturally, part of that's just growing up, but also there is a level of focus that comes with that, and working on the things that have to get done, working on YouTube, working on learning more, absorbing more knowledge and wisdom from great acting teachers and different films, things like that. So that does take time. It's, sacrifice is an interesting word, because there is a level of, you get rid of one thing to have more of another thing. And so I would say it's all for the better in that sense. Somebody's asking if Jose is a Spanish name.
Claro que sí.
Yes.
El nombre completo en español es José Miguel Vázquez.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I am of Colombian. I was born in Colombia, and so Colombian American. I'm bilingual, and I have, as of late, discovered, because Spanish. When you ask me about Spanish, I think of Spain. I do have a lot of Spanish ancestry from Spain, originally European. So, but no, my dialect, if I were to just speak in my natural tongue, it leans more toward Colombian. But because of acting, I tend to have to find a neutral dialect. And if you've seen any of my work when I speak Spanish, it sounds more neutral. In The Liberator, I have a Mexican-American accent. I did research to try to get as close to the region where my character was from. That was pretty challenging. And I was quite nervous about the dialect not being as specific as I'd wanted it to be. But, I put my best effort forward. And so I hope that translated well. I heard some feedback that was good. That gave me some solace. But, it's a strive for as much authenticity as possible. And that can be pretty challenging. Mm-hmm. So, pero sí, hablo español y inglés. And in fact, one of my first acting jobs, I learned how important Spanish is. I did one of my very, very first acting jobs. I did a Royal Caribbean training video. They brought me on to do a training video for Royal Caribbean in English and in Spanish. So what that was is basically me looking at a camera for about 10 hours in the day and saying something like, "Oh, please, go down and now click the right button to learn how to greet guests." And then in Spanish, "Por favor, vaya hacia abajo, busque el botón para poder aprender cómo saludar a los clientes." No, how would you say guests? Los pasajeros. Something like that. Anyway, so yeah, bilingual is the way to go, and I'm grateful that I can speak both languages fluently.
For sure. Missouri Green's question, how much does it cost to get a script copyrighted? It really depends on the way you want to go. There's different forms in what you do. Scripts are interesting because there's the first draft, and then obviously you want the script to be as finished as possible. But obviously, once you get to production, actually filming, things may change. Some changes here and there. Based on the Duffer Brothers Masterclass, you could research more yourself. Again, this is just my opinion. This is not like professional advice. There's different ways to go about it, but you could just register it with the WGA, like just register the script. That way there's a record of, hey, you put this in on this date, and it gives you a certain amount of, it's registered for a certain amount of time. even have email history. So maybe email it to yourself, the script, and say, hey, on this day, or especially if you're having friends or family read it, if you want like feedback and stuff. Some email history is good for records to have, like, oh, look, I sent it on this day, I wrote it here. If you want to go super serious and you're like, I really want to make sure no one else takes this idea, you could just go straight to the U.S. Copyright Office or wherever you're at. You know, maybe you're not in the U.S., maybe I don't know how it would be outside of the States, but I'm sure, you know, find the equivalent of that where you could just pay I think it's like $70, $80. It's definitely more upfront, but it protects your content a lot more. But again, the WGA, at least on their list, has a lot of different things you could do, even if it's just the idea. You don't have to even have a full, complete script. You could just have the pitch, right? And you can register the pitch you have, or the blue sky. I mean, obviously having a more complete product is better. But again, if you're like you want to make sure it's all locked in, you can't do that, then you can do that. So it just depends. And even now, I mean, it's interesting because YouTube has been changing a lot in terms of IP libraries, what's out there. You know, before film festivals, you wouldn't even be able to have something on YouTube before it goes to the festivals. It's still very much like that, but I know that there's exceptions.
Especially for the bigger ones.
For the bigger projects, absolutely. But like for the smaller stuff that you're making with, you know, with friends or whatnot, now there's like, oh, if it's on YouTube, put the YouTube link here. But before, that was like a big no, you don't want to see that. But now I think studios and Hollywood is picking up on the fact that a lot of audiences are on YouTube, and so you know, there've been a lot of stories recently too about people that their projects are seen from YouTube, and then they get signed by A24 to make a Backrooms movie at the age of 19. Yep. So you just never know what's possible. And now that YouTube has certain rights management, like you can basically register your video as its own thing. There's also that too. So that also helps, where there's records on YouTube that say, yo, on this day, I made this short. It was posted on this day. It was published. People saw it. That also helps with history. So again, that's a full depth, probably more than you needed, but there you go. That's how much it costs. Just depends on what exactly you're looking for. Let's see here. I saw another great one that I wanted to throw at you. Which actor inspired you to become an actor? You talked about movies. But are there certain actors that maybe as a kid or when you were in high school that their performances really were like, man?
So this is an interesting answer, I think, in that the actor so George Clooney is the very short, quick answer. But when I saw his performance on ER, I was in high school, and I saw his performance as a doctor and the whole show of ER. At the time, I felt, oh, maybe this is God affirming me that I need to pursue a career in medicine. And when I saw his work as a doctor and then the whole of the show, I was like, yeah. And so I even focused in my high school. We used to do career pathways as early as your freshman year. They try to get you on a pathway so you're focused your studies. So I even got on the medical pathway. Then my sophomore year, something happened. A lot of different events happened where all of the aspirations I had to be an athlete were really falling apart because my body was not, I wasn't growing the way I needed to grow to play football. And anyway, long story short, I realized that what George Clooney did in ER was really making me contemplate on the fact that, wait, I don't know, I could actually be more than a doctor. I could also be, because then I saw George Clooney in some other stuff, and I was like, wow, I could be a doctor, I could be a bounty hunter, I could be so many different things as an actor. So that started to pique my interest, and then that aligned with some things happening in high school. And then once I started to really get serious about the possibility of being an actor, Denzel Washington became the guy I was paying a lot of attention to, just because something about him really resonated with me. His characters, the passion, the focus that he brought to everything he was doing at the time and still to this day. So yeah, George Clooney and Denzel Washington, I would say. But even if you go before that moment of George Clooney, I was always impressed. Like, I was impressed with Mel Gibson's Hamlet when I saw it. I didn't have anything to compare it to at the time, so I loved his work. I loved Mel Gibson and the Mad Max stuff, and then of course Lethal Weapon. As a kid, my parents used to love that. But as far as like me thinking about it, George Clooney and then Denzel Washington.
Love it. All right, one more before we keep jumping in.
Yep.
How do I see here? Okay, so Isaiah, what stuff have you guys done? So yes, just to recap, we said it earlier in the intro. You may have seen us in shows like Miss Marvel, The Liberator on Netflix. I'm going blank. Cobra Kai, Walking Dead, amongst other things. You just talked about Reasonable Doubt.
Yep.
I was on a show BMF on Stars. I was in the movie Goosebumps. My brother, along with the Fro, maybe you've seen him on our channel, Joshua. He's worked on Lyle Lyle Crocodile, The Valet. He worked on the show. Oh my gosh, what was it called? Heels, the wrestling show. Our sister worked on the show Just Beyond, and also has been in our own original short film. So we have a MaJeliv creative channel where you can see more of our original content. But yeah, we've gratefully have been working on a lot of different stuff, and we'll continue to do so. So very, very exciting, and we're very excited to be producing our own things as well, writing and producing our own stuff.
Yeah, definitely look us up on IMDb if you want to find out what other things we've been in. There's definitely a good. We could probably do a whole other video on just talking about learning from all these experiences of being on set, because there's a lot to share in that realm. So
absolutely.
Anything else before we continue?
No, I think for now we're good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. So what I like to do now, because we got very.
Shift this way just a tad.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool.
I'm falling off the side of the frame. What I like to do now is really just kind of talk about fun, and I really want to. I know that we could probably nudge Jemmy and Josh, so I'd love to hear their take on this as well.
Okay.
How do we keep the fun in the work that we do as actors? And I specifically want to talk about the last 3 weeks we had. Listen, I think a lot of you might relate to this. We have set plans, especially in this time of year. You set plans down.
I'll go get them.
Let's do that. Thank you. We set plans down for, I remember the end of November, Thanksgiving was wrapping up, and then we had all these great plans for December in terms of YouTube stuff, and then, family things we were going to do, or, plans we were going to do with extended family. And my friends, I think we had a full 3 weeks of over 15 auditions amongst the four of us. So remember, there's 4 of us actors in the house now. It's not just me and Matthew, Jemileen, and Joshua as well. So it was a lot. It was suddenly so many other things had to get put on pause and on hold so that we can tend to the blessing of this. Really, I don't think it's ever happened to the capacity that it happened in the last 3 weeks. The amount of auditions that we got was overwhelming. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It was difficult to have fun. And so one of the things that I want to do is we're going to have Josh join us here.
You can jump in the middle and then Josh can, or I guess either way.
Who jumps in the middle?
I think you jump in the middle.
I jump in the middle.
I'll just enter on the side. Hello.
Yeah.
So Jemmy will come in shortly.
Her and I will.
Yeah, probably swap. Yeah. So Josh.
Ooh, are we cooking?
We are cooking.
I could smell.
We are cooking.
It smells really good. Okay, so Josh, what we're talking about is how we try to keep the fun, or how we aim to keep the fun as actors. And I just brought up sharing with them how we got bombarded with so many auditions, over 15 auditions in the last 3 weeks, and how challenging life outside this door. So just so you guys can kind of visualize this space that we're in, this is the studio where we do our auditions, where we do some of these kinds of videos that are a little bit different. And we do our best to hold everything beyond that door. We try to keep it out.
Right.
So that what we do in here is more sacred and honest, and but the word is fun, Josh. What have we been doing to maintain the fun and the madness of so much coming at us at the same time?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's a gift to do it together. I think that does make it very difficult if you're limited on the people that you're around. If you're just asking them to read with you, then that might be difficult. But one thing that we do for fun is sometimes when they're asking you to do a slate, there's some questions that might make you feel, a bit like it's a feeling, right? It's a strange. You have to share your height. There was a job like I think it was a commercial extra something where they asked for our weight. And I don't I don't know how weight would translate on the we would never So that was interesting. You have to kind of go like, I'm 125, but when I eat a lot, I am 130. And if I eat a lot, I eat 135. You know, give yourself a little space
right.
before you make the joke. But sometimes if you allow yourself to just put that on camera, that that imperfection.
Yeah.
It's not about appeasing the what's going on. It's serving, yes, but it's also bringing that energy, bringing that passion and excitement, and even with like the name or just these things that you have to throw in some flavor, some fun.
Yeah, exactly. The truth too is we obviously don't send that out.
Right.
That's what the fun is for us to
Absolutely.
enjoy. You know, whoever's standing on the other side of the camera that's filming the person doing the slate, sometimes it's me. I have the hardest time keeping a straight face. Mm-hmm. The other day we were in here doing an audition.
It was actually a much more serious scene.
More serious scene.
And there was a lot of action, and one of the characters, there was a character's name that obviously we can't talk about what it was. My dad was saying the character's name in a certain way.
I don't know why it came out that way.
I broke.
It was like one take. Well, he did it once. It was like a flub, but Josh and I couldn't get it out of our head, and so we were just like doing our best to like not start cracking up. So that happens sometimes.
And you have to welcome it. Like it's really, you need to be open to it. You gotta just really embrace the moments. It's very much of an improv, but just simply you're just playing around, you're having fun, and ideally remember to cut it out. If you do something in your slate and you have fun, make sure to get rid of it before you send it out. But it really, that stuff stays with you. There's some auditions that Matthew and I did a voiceover audition together, and we definitely didn't book it, but we still remember it to this day because we had so much fun.
So much fun.
Playing, having a great time. And then another thing is, whenever you get a take that you're like, okay, that felt very grounded, very much to the script, what's on the page, do a wild one. Do one where you make a choice that is very different.
Yeah.
But it's still honest to yourself. It's not big and super wild and crazy, but it's wild in the sense that with the context of the scene, what's a different approach that you could do?
Yeah.
That's a lot more fun. It's kind of like going, like you're climbing back up the slide kind of thing. You know, you can slide down the slide or you can try climbing up it.
That's good.
And both of those things have different kinds of fun. The slide is more smooth, more going with the flow of things. But if you're climbing, you're going against the flow of nature, but it still involves if you get my analogy.
And I feel like the play and fun comes when you give yourself permission, like Josh said, to be you. Because ultimately, with any character, you don't want to put on the character. You want, or like you essentially, you want to be you in the certain imaginary circumstances of said character, right? Where the character is playing you at that point, where it's like you are just so involved that you get to play. So part of being able to have fun and play is to just let yourself be you, not feeling like knowing trust, like we talked about surrender earlier, surrendering to the fact that you are enough and you just got to bring your version of it. I think Michael Keaton said it once, right, about how we're just giving the casting director, the director, another option, right? And how we count our wins in the audition room. Because honestly, we joke about it that the film industry, they're the ones that invented ghosting, because they don't really let you know when you don't book anything. You just don't hear back. You don't hear back from them. So like if the date comes where they're starting the film and you haven't heard anything, chances are you probably don't have it.
Right.
So how do we find the ability to let go? And part of it is just giving it our best.
You mentioned earlier how we live our lives determines a lot of our capacity to let go as actors, and I'm going to go way back now for a second.
Yes.
Okay. The concept of pretend play on the playground. Then you bring yourself to a role. So one of the earliest roles I had, not on a movie set, not on a stage, but especially with these awesome humans when they were little people, little kids, and Jemmy as well, I would take them to the playground, and especially with you and Jemmy, and I know that Jemmy's going to join us here in a little bit. If you guys remember, we played this game. It started off as playing Jurassic Park in the playground. And I was the raptor that they couldn't wake up, right? And then it turned into me being a raptor that is slowly transforming into a human. Like a humanoid raptor.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And, you know, the whole game became, how do they train this raptor to become like their dad? right? So what started off as a game where the raptor's sleeping to wake up the raptor, and then chasing them all over the playground, and them seeing my body and hearing my rah, all these sounds I was making, and they were just, it was just fun, man. It's just so much fun to play and imagine. Do you remember there was a moment where Jemmy, when we got back to the apartment after the playground, and I was still in this like semi-raptor humanoid personnel, and then you and Jemmy showed me the picture of who's going to be my wife, right? Because it's like, this is her mom, she's your wife, and I was like, right? I sounded more like a cat than a raptor, but it was just fun. It's improv, right? It was what the kids were saying, and we would build on it, and that's just for the sake of fun, and be able to pretend play like that is such a gift.
Again, allowing yourself to have the freedom to do so, because we could easily say, "Oh, I'm gonna look too silly." What are the other parents gonna think at the playground? But when it comes to auditions or just working, it's just trusting and having the courage to go for it. And we talked about the ego earlier, and even that, like I went through it at a certain time where sometimes we allow the ego wants us to focus or fixate on, for example, our looks. Like, oh, how do I look with braces on or with acne or whatever? Those are just excuses to not be in the moment, right? And so when you're able to call it out and be like, stop caring about what your eyebrows look like or what's going on here or there, just be, then that's when the real fun can happen. And that's when bookings happen, because you're not now worried about, oh, am I enough? Are they going to like what I do? I have to give them exactly what they want. The truth is, they don't know what they want. Not really. They're still discovering that. And so that gives us even more freedom to just be ourselves, to the best of our ability, and obviously prepare, but then throw it away and just be present. So there's that level too. And also realizing sometimes the pressure that we put on it. As actors, it's very easy to get stuck on, I want to book it. Whether it's because we just are so hungry to work and we want to be on set, or maybe there's the financial strain, right? And there's the reality that it's, the finances can be a big part. And so when we put that strain on it, we are restricting our ability to have fun, and to play. And we've had moments being very vulnerable here where it is harder to have fun and play because we're just having a crappy day, like the day just absolutely sucks, or there is a lot of financial strain and it's hard to step into, I gotta be like that giddy school teacher, whatever it is that we have to do. Like, how do we still bring the fun and play? And that's why we've done our best to make the studio, the moment you walk into that door, it's you leave everything else behind and we step into the right now, this moment.
Because that's still truth.
Right.
Like, we have fun, but it's not about like pretending like, oh, I'm great. You have to first realize where you're at, where your heart, your spirit, your mind, your body, how you feel. Are you tense? Is your neck tense? Are your hands cramping? Is your mind just hurting because of all the things you've got going on? That awareness when you come in, right, to the space, you have to be honest about that. And then the fun, the excitement, you can build up to that. It's very, very possible, but you can't just jump to it. You can't skip to it. You have to really allow yourself to acknowledge where you're at and do something. Do something with your body, with your voice, that just it brings that light to the forefront.
Yeah.
Because it's there. It's very much there. And sometimes the noise, that's why you said it earlier, keeping it out.
And sometimes we and I'll talk about myself really quick on this one, where sometimes I don't keep it out, and I have these lovely humans, and Jemmy just stepped in, so we'll have her say hi here in a second. They call me out on it, and I love that. This is how it is. This is how I know it's God teaching through me. I've taught them things that as they've gotten older, they're having to reteach me, because the mind has a way of keeping us stubborn, keeping me trying to still stay in control. And when they catch me on that, especially my lovely partner in crime here to my left, you're right, my left, he'll call me out on it, like, Dad, what are you doing right now? Like, just stop, just breathe, just laugh, do a quick prayer, Dad, right now, just go. He'll be back there behind that camera, I'll be over here. And it's just, we call each other out. We hold each other to a place of like, look, can we just restore the being present here in the moment?
And we're still, like I said, we're doing our best. We're still learning this, right?
Yeah.
Like this is an active, constant, and daily thing, how to show up for each audition, And even when we're blessed with, let's say, an onslaught of auditions, it's very easy to get caught up in the motion of that, right? Like we're just boom, 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 going to the next. So how do we remember to forget an old moment and move on into the next audition with 110%? And I think that also that can easily be applied to life as well, right? So that's that in summary, but.
Great. Let's have Jemmy for a little bit, and thank you, Josh.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome to have you with us for a second.
Amazing.
All right, everybody, here she comes, the one and only Jemileen.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yay! Sorry, I was making beef.
Yes, it smells
lamb.
amazing down.
Good.
It's starting to seep down. The scent of it smells delish.
Yay!
So the question we asked Josh, and I'm curious to hear your answer. It has to do with fun.
Ooh, fun.
What do we do? How do we keep the fun in the work that we do as actors? What's something you do or that you've seen that we have been able to do? Woo. The table moved.
Okay. Is that good?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I keep the fun? Yeah, I feel like sometimes you get caught up in the work of it sometimes. Like, I know I've had to remind myself that this is fun. Like, I think sometimes we put almost too much pressure and heaviness on it, and we forget that we're basically being given permission to play pretend and like to live in it 110%. So just to remind myself of that, of like, no, I can be a kid again. I can live live in this, in this different reality, right? And just be fully present in it. So honestly, sometimes remembering that it's fun. I like to be in the room, especially when you guys are doing auditions. We have almost too much fun filming auditions, commercial ones especially. So I think just a joy of being with you guys. And again, I think remembering that we're just playing pretend. Like it's just fun. I remember characters that are inspiring to me, ones that I loved when I was little. Like, yeah, I think just really going back in time and remembering, why did I do this? Why am I doing this in the first place? Like, why did I start pursuing this? And when I remember that, and I remember the movies and the films, and I'm like, okay, no, this is fun. This is great, I don't know. That's kind of what I think of. I feel like it's a constant, it constantly evolves and changes, but I think the state I'm in my life is just, I think, learning to fall in love with the script, right? And what you're doing, just falling in love in the art of playing, basically.
Yes. I think it's very easy. You're making me think of this, Jem. You're reflecting very honestly, and we're in the middle of watching the finale of Stranger Things. We're all ready to go for the final episode here on the 31st, and it's so easy to feel like, man, when is it my turn? I want to be in a show like this. I can't. Why not me right now, right? But what you just said really aligns with what happened to me last night as we were watching the next 3 episodes that just came out, which is I felt something very new, and I really do think it's the Christmas gift that I didn't realize I was asking for, and it's the ability to watch a show like that and be able to say, I am a part of this. Like every time I audition, because we even audition for that show.
Yeah.
But every time we audition, we're a part of the whole system of the storytelling mechanism that is ideally impacting humanity. Like, we're a part of it.
Or even as an audience, we are invited to live the experience that the actors are living.
Yeah.
So we can either put up the wall and try to judge every little thing we see, or we allow ourselves to just, be present, be open.
And step into those characters' shoes as well. You find the journey a lot more. I think it's scary to step into a character's shoes and really follow them along the journey. And honestly, it's a battle I have to deal with. Watching the episodes coming out of Stranger Things is because of how just emotionally vulnerable all of them have become. And the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen, is terrifying. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens, like, it's kind of like that feeling, at least for me, I know it's different for everyone, but going on a roller coaster, at first you're terrified and you're scared, but like, okay, no, I'm in here, I'm buckled, I have no choice. And then when you get off, it's like, okay, I want to go on this again, so it's always worth it in the end. So allowing ourselves to open up like that, I think is so vital.
It comes with time, you know. The practice of doing it is what makes us feel more confident to keep doing it, you know. Because I'm seeing a comment here from Cosmic Craze about how can an introvert become confident while speaking.
That is a great question.
Being more aware of your voice, right? What is your voice capable of? Playing with, you know, range and pitch and all those different things, and then also just doing it more often, and it, you know.
Honestly, I think. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
So no, I'll just finish, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. That a great example is this, like YouTube going live. When we first started going live, if you go back to our first live, you could say it was probably a little awkward, like
bumpy.
Everything takes time and practice, especially if you truly love it and you truly care for it. It deserves that time, and don't be afraid to mess up, to fail. Right? Yeah. Every failure is just an opportunity to learn. And so again, it goes back to the whole play and freedom. We allow ourselves to have the space to make mistakes. It goes back to the ego. I mean, it can be applied to acting, where you come into a situation and you want to almost pre-set and place everything the way you want it to be, so that there's a sense of control of a scene or a certain moment. And this is exactly how I picture it going in my head. And that completely robs us of being able to live presently in whatever happens, the spontaneity of the moment, right? The discoveries that we might have. And that can happen in life too, where there might be an interaction with an old friend or a stranger that looks kind of attractive and you want to reach out to them. Sometimes in our head we want to hijack and not enter into the, you know, potentially the what's the word I'm looking for? The butterflies that might come with that moment, all the unknowns, because we don't fully know, we haven't fully mapped it out. And if we don't feel that control, it's very easy for us to not want to even bother giving it the chance or having the courage to step into it. And so being able to more often step into spontaneous moments, have the courage to be bold, and face whether it's rejection, embarrassment, so just go for it. Because the more you do it, you become more willing to do it more often.
I heard a phrase today that I want to share for all of us to keep in mind, Heart, and maybe write it down. Just start writing it down. Discovery is fun. Discovery is fun. And what I mean by that on a very acting level, and then we'll bring it out from beyond that, is, you know, even when we're in here filming, I would love to go into the new year knowing that whenever I'm in here doing an audition and there's a flub, I say something that's off, you know, that moment we talked about earlier when Josh and you started laughing.
Right.
Like, that's the first time in a long time where that didn't genuinely bother me. I was just like, this is so funny. What is so funny to them? I can't wait to find out what's so funny. Right. And I finished the take, and it was fun because then I discovered something from that. I discovered something that was relatable to my character, to the context of the scene. And it added that extra texture to the tape that, you know, if I get the role, I'm going to go ahead and say it's because we were having that much fun. Right. You know, and so who knows? And it's not that it's about getting the thing. It truly is about trusting that discovery is fun. Making mistakes can be fun because there's a reason it's not working. I had this conversation earlier today with another actor, a very talented actor, and we were talking about that concept of, all right, why am I messing up this line? There's clearly something that's coming through that's new. I've said it many times. I've rehearsed it. I've been through it with the moments. Why is it fumbling now? What's happening here? And when we start asking really much more excited, curious questions, the mistake becomes a discovery of something that's just right there for the taking, that is just so new and fresh on the material.
It's human.
It's human. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And Jemmy, I want to hear what you were gonna say.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a quick little, like, back to the introvert becoming confident while speaking question. I don't know why I get a flashback to when I was younger and we were doing summer camps at the community theater that you were working at. Repertory theater. Repertory theater. And I remember I was so shy. I was so quiet. Like, I'm like, you would not think I'd want to pursue this thing. It's just funny, but I feel like when the desire is so strong, you're eventually going to have no choice but to just step into it. And I think that's the power I've learned of, like, that's the beauty of what I've learned about the power of courage, is courage doesn't mean that you're not afraid. You're afraid, but you're doing it anyways. And I've had thankfully, a lot of great breakthrough moments where I was, like, terrified going into it, but then, you know, you discover so much about yourself, and you, over time, it's kind of also like a workout, like a muscle. You're growing, and you're strengthening. The first workout, you're going to be really sore afterwards, but the more you do it, the less sore you become once you're done with it. So it's just really, it's really beautiful that when the desire is so strong, you know, despite you being more of an introvert, I definitely would call myself more of an introvert, for sure. Which I know probably sounds funny, but no, I am. These guys just bring out the goofiness in me, I guess. But
well, we could be introverts in different ways, right?
Yeah, it's different.
We're extroverts in other ways than introverts. I mean,
it depends on the thing. Really.
Well, and I've always said I'm a social introvert. You know, you get to a point where you need some time away and just solitude, and you got to reset, recharge
the battery.
Yeah, and you know, you made a comment about how we bring out something out of you, and that was my other comment.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah.
What do you want to say?
No, yeah. That when it comes to that too, I think it's who you surround yourself with. Definitely helps that too. When you meet people who are equally, if not more, passionate about this craft and wanting to pursue it, and also just the love of the art. When you're surrounded by those people, it's gonna encourage you to elevate, to become better, to challenge yourself in new ways. It's all definitely very beneficial. So that proximity is power.
Yes,
is the term.
Yes, and it's okay. The comment you made about being around like-minded artists is very powerful, but even like-minded just entrepreneurs, people who think outside the box, dreamers, you know, people who are they think a little bit more like we do, where we see the possible in the impossible. We can't help but dream a bit. But then what I love about the entrepreneurial mindset, and we have some friends that are like this, and colleagues who also, not only are they actors, but they run businesses. And then we have business people who run their own business, and they look up to what we're doing, and they find inspiration from what we're doing, because you know, how do we take something that just seems so unattainable, and with God's help and really good company, you make it attainable. You find a way, man. You know, for my whole of my life, it was always like people would make that joke, "No way, Jose. No way, Jose." And as of late in my life, it's more of like, not only yes way, but I'll find a way. Jose. That's
it's find a way, Jose.
Find a way,
Jose.
You know, we're landing at something that makes more sense.
We should actually get you a shirt that says
Find a way.
Find a way, Jose. Yes, please.
Would you guys buy a shirt that says Find a way,
Jose?
Let us know in the comments.
Put
I like that a lot.
Up
That's great.
emoji if you agree
with
this.
That's amazing.
Give us some all caps. Find a way, Jose.
Find a way, Jose.
Yeah.
Quick plug in. We do have a new merch store. Shirts, so if you guys are interested, check that out in the description. We're very excited. We wanted to do our best to get shirts that we actually would.
This was one of the test designs.
Yeah. So that's
we
one
got
of
the finalized one in the store.
And obviously always want to give you guys the best products that we can. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to Kevin Matthew.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Merry Christmas, Kevin Matthew.
And all of you. Thank you, all of you guys. This is so great. We're loving these conversations for sure.
Yeah.
Josiah is relating to the social introvert comment. Depend on the people we surround ourselves with to bring out the best in us. Absolutely. Yeah, the life givers or the life suckers, right?
Yep.
So that's a big one. Absolutely. But thank you, Jemmy, for sharing the fun aspect.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's the key. I've told people many times when I'm coaching them, if the moment you stop having fun, you got to turn around and go in a different direction. The moment you lose the fun in this, you know, and I've been doing this 16 plus years. There's days where I'm not having fun. So I have to find the fun again. I have to go looking for it again. Find a way, Jose. I got to find a way back to the fun. and so it's got to happen, because if not, that means I'm getting close to being done with this and moving on to something that does, you know, inspire me, right? And so there's all kinds of affirmations to that approach to life and art and the work. So that
and what is fun, right? I think we all have a different idea of what that is. Fun doesn't, at least for me, my discovery recently is not, fun isn't always just effortless, in the sense of like sometimes it's about finding fun even in the unfun things where it might be hard work, but it's finding the love for that process, for the hard process, right? Because I feel like sometimes we heard recently an interview that, again, Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, did with Matthew McConaughey about how Matthew McConaughey mentioned something about how we pull the parachute too early. A lot of us want to pull the parachute too early.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, even in a moment that is tough and hard, how do we, and I'm talking specifically about work, right, or tasks, because some of us may have jobs right now that are not the most fun, or they feel like they're sucking the life out of you. How do we find the joy and the fun even in those moments, right?
Yeah.
And you may have the conviction that maybe it's an environment we need to leave, and that's powerful too. And maybe you're discerning like, how do I do that? Because I need the money. I need to, so that's a whole other thing too. But yeah, what is fun, right? How do we find that fun? I think that's interesting too.
Well, that's making me reflect on, because fun is usually ha ha ha, I'm laughing out loud, I'm having a great time, it feels really good, and I think it's very important. However, not more important than what I'm getting that you're talking about is joy. Where it's hard, I'm doing this thing, it's hard, but when you get it done, like that night we were started to film the series of the program. You remember, man, that first video was not fun, okay? I'm going to be very honest. There was nothing fun about it. I was like, I kept hitting this wall. What's going on? What's going on? And it took us sitting in the reality that this should be joyful. I'm doing some work here that most likely, if done right, will outlive me. And now that kind of joy is immeasurable. And forget fun. Now it's like, this is purpose, baby. This goes beyond my feelings. Who cares about that? Now it's like, this goes beyond me. And that kind of like snapped me out. Plus, I had my son, standing on the other side of the camera, holding me accountable with this beautiful silence and patience while I was just going through my stuff, man. Going through my thing. And then finally got out of the way, did a prayer of surrender, and said, all right, this is for something greater than myself. I need to just buck up, get out of the way, and get it done. And so fun became joy, which will always outlast any good feeling. So thank you for that.
Of course.
You teed me up and I spiked it. Boom.
Yeah, absolutely. And but thank you, Jemmy, for sharing.
Thank you, Jemmy.
Also, she's wearing Joshua's Redbubble merch, so if you want to check that out too.
This water bottle is blocking this beautiful artwork.
But there's that.
This was Josh's handiwork. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of options of sweaters, shirts, t-shirts.
And if you haven't seen it already, you guys can check out our original short film, Candy Chaos. We filmed it for Halloween.
Starring
Jemileen Vasquez. And with God's help, we have more coming in the new year, new original projects. So we're very excited about. So if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to MaJeliv Creative, our MaJeliv Creative channel. Very exciting stuff. So stay tuned for that if you haven't already. But
awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It was great seeing you guys.
Yes,
thank you for this awesome time.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, and somebody mentioned earlier about if this is our last live of 2025, we are doing our best to get one more in. Right now we have some other plans and things, but ideally we would do a 2025 movies ranking all the things we've watched in this last year. So we're going to do our best to do that. If that changes, we will kick off the new year with a live talking about 2025 and what we're excited about in 2026. So definitely stay tuned for that. Ideally, we'll have everyone in the family for that one. That one will be a lot more. It will go back to the way that we usually do, like our regular programming in terms of how we usually do lives. But again, we're excited to be doing this today as well. But.
Awesome.
Right, awesome.
We'll see you soon for dinner.
See you soon.
For a late dinner.
We gotta wrap it up soon
dinner
for
is ready
sure.
to be served. So.
I love this though. It's a Friday night. We got dinner coming. Thank you, Jemmy.
Oh yeah, of course.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
And we got I think we can wrap this up. But there's a little last section here.
I wanted to. You said something that will take us into the next topic. And guys, if you guys can give us a thumbs up again, if you guys can hear us still good, if we're doing well here still with sound, and audio, all that jazz. Jemmy, you said there's some really great stuff that was said about, finding joy. How do we step in? How do we fully play? And there's some things that we've already started touching on, but the idea of rising above, not just the standards of the world, but the industry, but also the noise, right? I talked a lot about that earlier. What does that look like? I think a lot of us share some of those similar noises, whether it's voices, opinions from family and friends. A lot of us may have a lot of very supportive family and friends. We may have a lot of family and friends that are, whether they're not really friends. They're destructive, or they say certain things, certain opinions that are hurtful, or maybe it's social media. Maybe it's just like an overstimulus of being so caught up in other people's lives that sometimes we look back at our own and we feel like absolute crap, right? So how do we deal with that? And then to get more specific about the industry, when it comes to, I feel like it's very easy for us to sometimes get caught up in the aesthetics of what the actor's lifestyle is, as opposed to the actual work that it takes. We talk about how do we find the confidence and the joy in the work. The way you find that is to actually do the work and work on the craft. I think sometimes it's very easy to get lost in the noise of the industry side. The business is extremely important, but I do feel, as we've discovered and learned from everything you've taught me and from the training I've done recently, that craft and having our own process as we continue to discover and being open to learning, because we are constantly learning as artists, guides us to that. We naturally will book more because we have all the tools we need, right? And that helps us to fully surrender more. I think subconsciously it's harder for us to surrender to the process, to auditioning, when we aren't taking care of our craft, of our body, heart, mind, soul, everything, to be fully ready for an opportunity. Because then we feel deep down like, oh, I feel like I could have done a little bit more. But when we leave it all on the table, then it's a lot easier to let go. So that's a great question to ask all of ourselves. For me to ask myself today, for you to ask yourself, and for you to ask yourself, what are those things that are holding me back, or maybe I could be doing more of, that I'm feeling called to do more of, and not just necessarily, it's more from a level of conviction, right? And what am I called to hone in on, to get better at, so that I can then surrender more. Whatever that helps you.
The word there that comes to mind is a spiritual discipline, which discipline for some people are like, oh. So let's go with spiritual practice. I have a very athletic way of thinking. As I mentioned earlier in this live, being an athlete, there's this sense of
athletic mindset.
Yeah, the athletic mindset, this elite level athlete mindset of how much practice do I have to put into a free throw to become a master at free throws or 3-pointers. You think of the greats, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. There's a focus on practice. Like, the more I do this thing, the better I'm going to get at it. And so same with us, same with our spirit and our mind and our heart and our soul. On the daily, as artists, as an actor, what am I doing to prep myself to deal with what's coming at me, the noise? How do that way I can train myself to rise above it. So the stillness that we were talking about earlier in this conversation reveals a lot of these clues of what actually is going to take me to a place where I can rise above it by the way I live my life. And it's scheduling, like actually setting it down where you can measure it and say, all right, in this week of 7 days, I showed up 3 times to my prayers. Okay, 3 out of 7 days. That's something, right? It's a start. Ideally, aim for 7 out of 7 days where you're showing up for and you said it earlier in the conversation, at least 5 minutes. And you build on that, hopefully more than 5 minutes as you go on. Give yourself 25 days to just commit to, like, all right, 5-10 minutes, I'm going to show up, sit down, try to sit in stillness, even if your effort leads to picking your nails or, getting lost in thought, or you can't help but pick up your phone. And it's like, just do your best to, like, not take your phone out to the stillness space you designate. So just keep that in mind. Set a schedule. Give yourself 5 to 10 minutes of sitting there, just talking to God, doing that little listening exercise we did at the very beginning of this, to surrender all of that and just show yourself you can be disciplined. You can develop that practice, and then suddenly your confidence gets boosted.
And maybe also look at moments where you were invited to stillness, but we turned away and we went to our phone, right? Those moments of how long of a period can you go without anything? Like where we were a moment of maybe we're drinking coffee by ourselves, And how long is it before we pick up our phone because it just feels awkward to be sitting in a coffee shop by ourselves. So that too is like noticing, how fast am I wanting to occupy my mind, and I just don't want to sit with my thoughts. I think that's also interesting to look into. And I love what people are saying here. Yoda, Empire Strikes Back, do or do not. And it is that level of committing to yourself, and even we've been doing our best. I learned it from an acting coach I've been learning from too in New York, Tom Todoroff. And he says a lot about take out words like kinda and sorta, right? Because our words do have
definitive
power.
definitive measure,
right?
Yes.
So to be able to, instead of replacing, I'm trying to get in, I'm trying to get this video out by Friday. No, saying I'm doing my best to get my video out on Friday, and little things like that. Not only does it sound better,
it does a lot.
It does a lot here. It does a lot to ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're not just trying. We're not just sort of committing. We're not being lukewarm. We're not being tepid. We're not, being. We're just
we become forgetful, Matthew. When you and I talk about this a lot, and I want to say this to all artists listening, really, all humankind. We are created in the image of God. So what does that mean? So when you talk about, and this is what I love about what Tom is teaching you, because it goes back to the core of language, voice, the way we speak, the way we talk about ourselves, what kind of language. I'm trying to do something, Yoda would say, as you said, no, don't try to do. I'm doing. That little shift, you think, well, it's just words. No, my friends. You're rewiring now the way you think, and so therefore you're just resetting the way you behave and the way you actually get things done, which feels so good, right? And it's the reality that, just go back to Genesis, go back to the creation story. God created because God said, let there be light, and there was. God said, and then there was. We have to be careful because what we tend to say tends to become. Right. So ideally, we have a certain way of speaking and the way we live that teaches us and helps create the circumstance we want to be in.
Well, and like we heard in one School of Hard Knocks video, which we love his stuff too. That one guy was the one millionaire was talking about how, if we are truly made in God's image and we believe that, like, do you know how much power that gives us? And like you said, in terms of what we can be a vessel for, in terms of light, creativity, positivity, making true impact that changes people's lives for the better. If we live that out, how do we live that out more fully and more intentionally? So yes, we can do our best to get rid of words like trying, kinda, sorta. Tom, it's funny. He says. You can't sort of be pregnant. You can't kind of be pregnant.
I love that.
You either are or you aren't. So that stuff. It's like, when you look at it like that, again, let's commit to our word and see things through to the best of our ability.
One of the other ways we do our best to rise above the noise of especially the industry as actors, but this I think could apply to all artists really. But when there's a sense of submitting something for approval, right? In our case, we submit our auditions. We'll tape them. We put them. We'll compress them into a file, and we literally send them out electronically and just hope for the best. Well, something that's helped us tremendously is that we actually have a practice of lifting that audition up, meaning we have a moment of prayer after we hit send. We have a space in our house where we sit with God. We sometimes literally get on our knees. Usually for me, I don't know about you, but usually I get on my knees when I can feel I'm holding on to the thing. I really want it. And I don't want to let it go, and I'm way too excited about it. I get on my knees even more, and then it's this sense of release. It's the offering, surrendering it, lifting it up, saying, God, all right, I just did this. Let it glorify you. It is now yours.
What's helped me is I do my best to see every audition as a stepping stone, a brick on the stairway to more greatness, to more excellence, to mastery of the craft, to glorifying God, right? It just helps to surrender it in that way, where no matter what happens next, this process, this audition that I just lifted up, is helping me get to the next one, right? And whether or not it's a yes or no, give me the courage to step into it, whatever it is. So that helps. And so maybe there's moments in life like that. Maybe there's work you're doing that you're having a hard time letting go, and so maybe it helps to see it as just, again, a stepping stone, the next step as we continue to climb. So
I think the reminder here is that even if you're not a professional actor or artist, there's something in your life you're having to submit for approval. Whether you're in sales or you're doing some kind of presentation in school, you know, it's going into the thing knowing you're choosing courage, and when it's done, it's inviting God into that conversation, telling him, okay, there it is. I gave him my best, and I trust you'll do the rest, Lord. That's vital to have those kinds of conversations. I also think it's so important to know as an actor, you know, I was having this conversation earlier today. Some actors, I don't know how you relate to this, we tend to get a script, and it's like the obsession of getting it right. And we get locked in our heads, and we go through it, we're rehearsing. Sometimes it's a short notice, so you have a deadline, so it's even more tempting to be like, all right, the more I dive in, the more I gotta get this thing, and so with this pressure, and we suck the joy and the fun.
Again, it's the ego. It's wanting to get it right, that my self-worth is dependent on me getting this right, and it's, I mean, quite frankly, when you call it out, it just sounds ridiculous. It's, you know, and so... Yeah, I'm just adding on.
Yeah, and so it becomes important to know when to walk away.
Or sometimes we love it so much that we want to keep going into it, but there's the space.
But see, the thing is about love is knowing how to let it go.
Let go.
And just, okay, the script's not going to go anywhere. Let me just go reconnect. Like, just go sit outside on the porch, watch a squirrel for 5 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
Why not? Just go take a walk. And that's what you see me do is a lot. And you tend to join me in some of these walks. Like, you know what? I just need to go for a walk. I'm going to go with the dog, take a mile and a half to just reconnect, listen, you know, get out of the way of cars, like just pay attention to the moment, and then come back, and suddenly the script is fresh, and I see things I didn't see before, and I'm writing things I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Now I can focus on the one thing and then drop it and then walk away, and now there's a new thing there to focus on. So it does... You know, it's kind of like gardening. You don't want to suffocate a plant by staring at it, pouring water in it, and like, oh my God, is it growing? Is it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe and the thing's gonna die. There's just do the thing, leave it, and come back.
Question: there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious. Which, speaking of right or wrong, you said that like we want to get it right. Which again, shout out to Tom Todoroff. He's been teaching me a lot this past year, and
he's great.
Therefore, anything he's taught me has been going into our auditions, and I've been passing it to my dad, to my brothers and sisters, and so it's been helping us all grow as artists. But that quote about the being pregnant, that's all him. But then to add on, the whole right or wrong, it's not necessarily right or wrong when it comes to acting. It's strong or like what's the strongest choice, right? And then the same thing in life. Sometimes it's very easy for our ego to want to say, oh, what's right or what's wrong. It's no, what's the strongest choice that's going to lead me to more greatness and to being a better version of myself. Right? And saying, you know, yes to the things you want and saying no to the things you don't want. And in this case, the question I have for you, again, I'm still discovering my own answer to this, which is, does having your process to break open a script, having your craft, does that help your ability to let go a script?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes, because I've done this long enough where I can feel I'm stuck. We talked about progress earlier in this conversation. When I can feel, okay, I am not making progress. This sucks. Mm-hmm. I'm stuck. Why? And that's when I know, all right, well, I'm going to put this down because it's feeling blocked, obstructed, and the walking away allows for that obstruction to be cleared. Not by me, but and I don't want to sound vague when I say this, but it's cleared by the Holy Spirit. Let me specify. Breath. So Holy Spirit is ruach, right? That's Hebrew for breath. And so the breath of God, as I'm walking and focusing on breathing, now I'm just not obsessing over the thing that I'm like, no, now I'm just focused on breathing, and I let myself breathe. Now the peace breathes, and the breath of life is now. So now I'm more aware, increasing oxygen to my brain. More oxygen means better blood flow. Better blood flow means better movement. The whole of me is now impacted because I'm literally breathing better, because I'm not struggling and putting all my energy into getting this thing right, as you said. And ironically, the stronger choice emerges when I'm able to breathe and let the Holy Spirit breathe through me and breathe into me the knowledge of, okay, great, more wisdom, more revelation of what this is all about. What's actually happening to this guy? Why is he actually talking this way? What is he after?
And even that is something we have to learn, right? How do we take in certain people, characters, ask bigger questions when it comes to a character? Yeah, like you said, why is he talking that way? Why does he choose to smoke in this moment? Why is he speaking to this person in that way? So having craft helps us be a detective in a sense with what we're doing. And all this stuff, we won't go into all that because this could be a much longer stream. But if you want to, we're definitely, again, going into the new year, going to be breaking open these things like craft, things that have helped us that will hopefully help you as an actor, and in life too, because again, they complement each other. Even people that have trauma in life, there are books that say this. I don't know the exact ones, but I can leave it in the description eventually. I'll have to mention it again in the future. But how there are books and certain people, therapists and people that have studied this, where acting helps people, heal from trauma. And so people that may never ever want to be actors, part of being an actor, as an actor, you're called to be psychologist, sociologist, just truly diving deep into these people.
Mm-hmm. Into their human experience.
Into their human experience.
Yep.
That's extremely important. But we have to do that more often, like we said earlier, to know how to do that more confidently.
Mm-hmm.
We
want to invite you all to please go to the MaJeliv Artist YouTube channel, help it grow so that we can do lives on there, and we bring all of our artist friends, musicians, writers, obviously specifically actors,
mainly actors,
mainly actors, but all the above. We really want to focus on this constant elevating of the artistic spirit and understanding what our mission is here on planet Earth while we still have life and breath in us.
And look, we're still learning. I mean,
yep.
Obviously we're, again, professional actors in the industry, so as we continue to work and audition, we are learning and constantly doing our best to elevate, right, our own personal standards for the work that we do, the way that we live our lives. And so we want to invite you on that journey. So definitely, like my dad said, subscribe to the MaJeliv Artist channel, be a part of that. It's very exciting stuff. And like my dad mentioned earlier, he has the link in the description. If you are an actor watching this, and my dad, I'll take it back to you to describe why this link is so important. But we definitely want to invite you.
Right. So the MaJeliv Artist channel, subscribe to that. There's going to be a lot more posts coming up on that one. So that's just going to be beautiful, accessible content for you to just soak in, respond to, apply to your life. And then the interview that I'm inviting all of you actors out there to join me on, please. If you've been on a journey, you've got at least 3 years of experience, meaning you've been on a stage of some sort or on a sound stage of some sort, you've done the thing. Please, just consider going to the link, doing the interview, and just talking to me, because your story is going to help me shape this program that's going to serve actors out there that really want to take their craft to a level where it's creating more fulfillment in their lives. They're able to find ways to keep restlessness at bay, all of these things. So again, this is for the building of a legacy program, the MaJeliv Artist program. All of these things will be covered in that, and you would be in the hot seat. So it's pretty cool because you get to feel like you're the person of the hour. I get to kind of just have this great conversation with you.
And like I said, the MaJeliv Artist channel will be. That's why I kind of stopped myself getting into craft and things, because eventually there's definitely more ways we would love to break that stuff open. In case you guys are curious of what's helped us, get on set and. It's because gratefully we've been auditioning a lot more. There's certain things that as a family now, and again as collaborators, as creatives, as business partners, we've gotten down in terms of a process that works for us. And if we can share that with you, to help you, we're excited to do things like that. I
want to just invite really quick.
Yes. You got drum roll and give some love to MaJeliv mom, to Jenny. She's gonna jump in because we can't forget the MaJeliv boss. So we're gonna jump. Without her, none of this is possible in terms of the acting stuff.
Yep.
Working on film and TV.
As she comes in, I'll kind of tee her up with what we've been talking about. We covered a lot of the things in terms of what's fun for the actor. Matthew brought up some of his Miss Marvel experience. You got to be on set with these kids when they were still under 18, and there was you had to be there for them, and
I got to be there.
You got to be there, which is again, I'll let you speak to that. So you could pick whatever you want to talk about, the fun of that, or the challenges of staying above the noise of the industry with the faith in the work. We talked some of the spiritual practice. So whatever of those things resonates with you, or you could do the whole journey to the manger, like whichever you prefer. Just talk to the people.
No, I think what resonated when you first introduced, you said something about I was watching how you talk about the fun, finding the fun in all of it. And I think for me, when the kids started acting, it was hard for me to find the fun in it, because you see how hard it can be for you to be trying over and over again to get roles, and to feel like you're just not getting picked, you're not getting called, you're not getting booked. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of rejection. And as a mom, to see your kids be rejected, it's a big challenge. So I think being able to see us find the fun in all of this, and finding the joy of each opportunity to even just audition, and be able to enjoy that moment, find the joy in it, but then let it move on and be able to release it and truly let go. That's been like the biggest thing for me. I think I've also been on that emotional ride at first. Now I deal with it much better. I think as a family we've kind of jived and we've really gotten the flow of that. Creating a ritual for letting go has been really helpful. Sorry, my voice, I'm kind of sick. I don't know what my throat is doing, but yeah, I think that's the biggest one. When I hear, I was here watching the stream and watching these guys talk, and it really gets me, at the heart of just seeing how much they've learned, how much we've learned as a family, how far we've come. I mean, it has been a long time of doing this and really figuring out how to really do this in a healthy way. Do this in a way that gives you fulfillment in the process, not just because you want to book something or you want to accomplish something, but in the process of, in every step that you're taking and everything that you're doing, in the preparing, in the filming, in the getting on set is amazing, but it's everything else in between, because being on set is a small percentage. And that could be great, because that feels like a big win. But how do you find the wins in between? And that's what I'm really thankful that we've learned how to do in a more healthy way. And it makes, if not, we'd be miserable, because the audition process is a big, big part of it. And the fact that we can laugh and we've learned these new techniques and these new ways of managing that is awesome. So.
And we still keep learning. As a family, we're impacted on the familial level as a unit, and then paying attention, especially as parents, how it's hitting us individually. And I think we've learned as a couple how some of the work affects me, or not getting the work. So the constant learning and constant reflection is going to continue to add to what we're doing. All right, are there any other thoughts before we open up any questions and
just some Q&A. Like you said, Jemmy and Josh are cooking up quite the dinner, so we're excited.
It smells amazing up there.
Some Mediterranean awesomeness. So we definitely don't want that to get cold.
It's good.
But if you guys have any questions for us that we haven't answered, definitely feel free to add them in the chat here. But again, this will not be the last time we do a live like this. Going into the new year, we're excited to do more of this, connect with you more on the artistic side, and share more of that as we actively, like I said, pursue greatness when it comes to the work that we do as actors, as artists, as storytellers, as YouTubers too, learning the business of all this too. How do we connect with you guys more, deep on a deeper level and really serve you the best that we can. And yeah, just share all those facets with all of you. So
yeah,
we're very excited. And yeah, let us know in the comments.
Well, I saw some things on here I wanted to address before we wrap up. I also want to say, as we pull up some questions, if you're watching this and we're not live anymore, feel free to ask your questions even after the fact in the comment section. You can even do an @MaJeliv artist tag if that helps, just to kind of curate all the questions that have to do with craft and the business. Any of this kind of thing would help us organize our thoughts as in response to you even after we've ended this live. We'd be happy to answer your questions and things of the sort. So what can we take on first here?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any new ones right now, so I feel like we're probably...
I saw something about, someone asked about animated or voice acting.
Oh, yes.
And then someone said if we have done voice acting before.
We have done, yes. Josh hit on it earlier. Him and I, a lot of us have done a voiceover, commercials, auditions mainly. In terms of actual voiceover work, use it a little bit on Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
That was
kind of the, and when I was non-union, I would do some more voiceover work. So you may not remember this because you were really little, or younger, I should say. In Orlando, I did voiceover work for the Disney parks. I did some Spanish voiceover for like some of the shows. Like after the show's over, my voice would come on, like, por favor, like I said, they kind of just letting people out of the stadium. So that kind of voiceover work. I did voiceover work for a lot of industrial videos, like I said earlier, training videos, things of that sort. So yes, voice acting is something we all would love to get more into. I know especially you. You recently did a voiceover audition, which you seem to be elated about.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I think, the 4 of my family members are all actors and they've really mastered this. But even with YouTube, the first time I was on a video, I was very, very, very shy. And I've definitely come out of my shell and I've learned to, be comfortable around the camera in this way. But voiceover is kind of like it gives you a freedom to perform and tell a story without the camera. And for me, at least, it's more freeing. Like I feel more comfortable in that setting. So I'm just learning. That's something I'm kind of starting to kind of learn more about and kind of get better at. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot from them because I'm definitely not
you're
the actor in that aspect.
Jemmy said it, when you're around a certain group of people, they affect you, and I'm hoping that it continues to direct you to find your voice, your own version of what that is.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think that was it. I saw something else about something about animation or something. Or I don't know what that was about. Maybe I just misread.
I think you guys, there was one comment about that when you're an actor, you stop being you turn yourself off and you become someone else.
Yeah, that becomes, so it depends really on the nature of the project. Obviously with like biopics, certain actors really do have to become the person that they're playing. Yeah. But even in that, they're bringing themselves to that person, to said person. So like I said, ideally, we are playing ourselves in certain imaginary circumstances. And so
in theater, you're going to run into that more often. So when I did a lot of theater for young audiences in Orlando, in one show I was a pirate, I was a Native American, and I was a dog. There's just so many possibilities of what you could do in a stage production of something. But ultimately, the soul of the person is coming through the individual story. And there's a great video we watched. Stephen Lang did this video on Avatar, Fire and Ash, and it's a brilliant video because he really flushes this concept out that if you work from the inside out and you're still portraying the soul of the person that is the actor, so me, Jose Miguel, is going to come through in the character that is being portrayed. So you need both. You can't have the character without who you are. So I'm very much a believer that you don't really stop being yourself. In fact, you enter an extraordinary level of yourself that expands your own comfort zone sometimes, and you have to get more courageous and be more vulnerable. So anyway, But again, that's for another video.
Yeah, that's for another video. I was going to ask you a question that goes deeper, but I think that's for another video about pulling from parts within yourself to create this, bring this character to life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it essentially comes from within you, because I think overall we can't, and you guys can correct me, but I think you can't completely disregard, almost like put yourself completely to the side and do something.
It takes a lot more energy, I feel.
Yeah,
to do that.
I think there's a richness within.
People have different processes, and like there's the reality that, you know, especially with experience, certain roles might require us in terms of our imagination to imagine things that are extremely hard. And sometimes when we limit it just to our own personal experience, it can be limiting. So we have to use our imagination to imagine, you know, if I, Matthew Vasquez, went through said experience, who would I be? Where would I be? What would my worldview be? All of that to step into a character. So again, it's just stuff that's touched on in books like I said, The Intensely by Larry Moss, Audition by Michael Shurtleff, all these books that are must reads if you want to be an actor. But yeah, definitely like Mom, like you said, definitely topics for other videos, because it's great. It can definitely dive deeper into all of that. But definitely a good way to tee that up for the next time.
Yeah.
But
well, guys, thank you so much
thank you for joining us. Definitely let us know in the comments, in the chat, how this resonated with you, what stood out to you, and if you guys enjoyed this.
And I was thanking you. Thanking you for sitting in on this, and Jemmy and Josh, thank you. This is something that it's just a gift and a mercy to do this with my family, and to have a sense of unity in such a individual craft is a massive gift. And yes, as Matthew was saying, thanks to all of you, those of you that are still here listening, and those of you that are listening after the live, whenever you run into this, thank you so much for
this
just
is a
spending
very
some time.
new type of life for us, but one that I feel like we've been wanting to do for a long time. So yeah, like Jose said, if you have questions or things you want to talk more about, that way the next time you go live, you know, kind of things you guys want to share about and talk about.
Absolutely.
It'd be cool. But yes, please support MaJeliv Artist. Subscribe to that channel. We need 1,000 subscribers.
1,000, yes. Help us get to 1,000.
Yeah, we're at 37. So like, if you live with 10 people, go grab their phone and subscribe to every single one.
I love it. Yeah.
But we would love to get to 1,000 by. I mean, it would be a dream if it was by January 1st, but I think maybe March.
Summer, March.
Summer, yeah.
Who knows?
But,
we'll do our best.
But at least every single one of you that are on this, like watching, if you could go on MaJeliv Artist and subscribe, we would love to be able to, you know.
Yeah, we're excited to share more.
Go live on there.
And
so.
if you know any actors, maybe you're not an actor, maybe you're an artist, right? But you have a friend that's an actor. You know, please feel free to share this with them if they're interested. If you feel this type of content and all the things we talked about today would resonate with them, definitely send MaJeliv Artists their way. And like we said, we have that link if you're interested in setting up an interview with my dad here, with Jose. Definitely check that out. And like we said, have the link to Joshua's Redbubble store, to our new merch, to MaJeliv Creative. Like I said, we made Candy Chaos. We're going to come out with more in the new year. We're very, very excited to just take you guys on the journey as we continue to build the MaJeliv legacy. And speaking of that, the best way to do that is the MaJeliv Insider community, $20 a month. And with that, you're guaranteed to get just these awesome reflections that we post very often, multiple weekly on movies, TV shows that we're watching, things that we are, you know, taking in on the daily and just sharing it with all of you, like little interactions I have with an Amazon, you know, delivery guy and things like that, and how we can all together hold each other accountable, inspire one another to be better, to live more authentically, more presently, more intentionally. And on top of that, you will get exclusive access to insight behind the scenes on upcoming projects, to our creative channel, all that stuff, and discount codes, promo codes. Essentially, just a really great place to be if you are passionate about just living life more fully, and just, you know, being a MaJeliv super fan and just joining us on that journey. So yeah, check that out. It's in the description. But regardless, you being here today. It means a lot. So stay tuned. Like I said, we're going to do our best to get one more live in before the end of the year, talking about all the movies that we saw, because we saw a lot. And we're looking forward to what comes out in the new year. So thank you. Go out there, spread your light, and we'll see you guys in the next MaJeliv Live. Have a MaJeliv day, afternoon, or night, wherever you are in the world. All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.